Good morning, everyone. This is Static Pulse, your commentator, here today to commentate the race against Octopuscal and Aurilliux. It'll be a very good race tonight, or keep saying tonight. Very good race this morning, everyone. And we'll be starting here very shortly. Two very excellent runners, so it'll be a very good race. Hold on to your chairs, everyone. And we're off. So Boogey presented a partial speedrun of the Earthbound video game. It's roughly a little over an hour, I would say. With average luck, you're looking at about an hour 10 or so. Both of these racers are excellent, so hopefully we'll see times below that mark. Time ends when we pick up the jar of fly honey after defeating the Boogey tent boss. But that's a while from now, so enjoy the intro. We have a couple minutes here before things really get started. So grab your water, grab your snacks, and settle in for an hour plus of Earthbound goodness. Or Earthbound RNG if you prefer that. Or are you going for the cracked bats? This is an item you have to pick up. You don't have to equip it, but it costs time later. So you do want to pick it up. You do want to equip it at some point. There are three separate chances to pick this up before the game forces you to do so. Octo will likely do that on the third pass through, is my guess. I don't know if there's any mods in Earthbound Super Series chats as start a vote. I do not have such permissions. So, we're going up the hill here. A very good tutorial on where you're going to go next. That we'll have to climb this hill once again, but this time full of enemies. There are three enemies we'll have to watch out for when we make the hill climb later on. The snake, the crow, and the dog. All of them have different overworld movement patterns. All of them have varying levels of difficulty. But they're all fairly dangerous, and we don't want to fight any of them. Octo did not grab the cracked bat. That might be part of what you're seeing there. Octo will likely get that on the third pass. As the second one has Tracy in the hallway, and I don't think anybody would ever get it then, as Tracy will likely get in your way, as random NPC is wont to do. And we have our prediction started. Make sure to spend your Earthbound bucks. Put them on the line. Oh, actually, this is different than usual. How many turns will Mole take for Death Ward? I don't know if this is an either-or situation, but I know what I'm predicting based on my own experience. This will be for the first runner that gets to the mole. Okay. Alright, our runners will be starting the hill climb here soon. We'll see what luck they get. Octo at the door gets 2 snakes. Snakes have a movement pattern where they will move toward you if they detect you moving, which allows for some movement tech. As we've seen here, you can stutter. That is, you can press the... Oh, the crow got free, but Octo was able to get around it. Oh, that crow just launched itself right at Ori. Octo has 2 dogs here, but expertly navigates around them. As I was mentioning earlier, the stutter step is a movement tech here in Earthbound. Some enemies will only move when they detect Ness moving, but they don't detect it on every frame. So if you're able to press the movement button ever so slightly, ever at a certain frequency, you can move around the enemies while they barely move toward you. It's a very important tech for getting around enemies in this game. There are a number of enemies, particularly in the early game, that use this method of movement. That's a hallmark of a great runner, being able to get around these enemies with minimal fuss. The crows, with their swooping pattern, they can be a little unpredictable. They can get hung up on terrain fairly easily, but sometimes you'll get a crow that just zooms toward you, like Ori did earlier. We'll see other swooping patterns in the future. Ness's overworld movement speed is generally, on the whole, much lower than other enemies, so an enemy that moves toward Ness is one that will catch up to him unless you have a skip sandwich available, which increases Ness's overworld movement, or you get it hung up on terrain. Thankfully, the hill climb has quite a few trees and such, in most areas for enemies to get hung up on. Here we have the first boss fight, quote-unquote, because this boss fight's on rails. There's very little agency for the player here. Buzz, pretty much the RNG on him dictates how quickly you're going to get through the fight. Starman Jr. also has a couple of attacks that are slower, particularly the 2 fires, PSI fires you can use, are slower than the PSI freeze, which is also slower than simply guarding. However, we are also relying on Buzz for our damage, so every other turn, we want to see him do a strong hit, so he does the most damage to Starman Jr. Ideally, Starman will not be guarding on those turns and taking less damage from Buzz. Getting out of Starman Jr. sub 8 is very good. Ori gets out without much fuss. If you're unlucky, it can take a while to get out, and you're just mashing through the text as fast as you can. Here we lose our great fly dung beetle bee friend, Buzz. He went to the Owl School of Exposition, wherein he'll ask you twice to confirm whether you want to rehear things. First time you will want to confirm, and the second time you want to cancel. You don't want to get caught up in a dialogue loop with your good friend on his deathbed. Octo now heading to Onet proper. There are a couple of spawn plates on the way down, but aside from that sneaky snake, we're able to get nothing particularly dangerous. We will pick up the Mr. Baseball cap here from our good friend. We really wanted it for a long time, so we can put it on our head and then immediately sell it for $99. Buy a regular baseball cap as well as some other items. The reason we do this is the cheap bracelet is ironically the most expensive defensive item we can get. It is also a very good defense item. And the combination of a regular baseball hat and the cheap bracelet will increase our defense more overall than the Mr. Baseball cap alone will. The Mr. Cap is actually only one defense better than a regular cap, so selling it is to make sure we get all of the items that we can for Onets, which has a very limited equipment selection, is ideal. Octo here taking a step route that gets around spawning sharks down here by the arcade. And we'll take on 3 fights here, 2 Pokepunks and a mandatory Yes Man Jr. While these enemies aren't particularly threatening, with bad enough luck you can take a KO to these guys. The Pokepunks will always drop hamburgers, which is very nice. Even in a casual run, if you happen to run into them a lot, you can get a bunch of free heals, and who doesn't like that? Unfortunately, Ori did not quite get the spawn plate, or avoid the spawn trigger, but taking a wider berth is able to skip additional spawns by the arcade. There's quite a few plates down there, and you really don't want to fight a bunch of sharks at the same time. The can of fruit juice here only heals 6 HP, but if you take him some chip damage, it can help heal you up before the next fight. Octo is now on to the Frank fight, the first real boss fight. It is particularly... It can be pretty hard. We have limited healing, and we have to heal after every hit we take. Otherwise, we run the risk of having too low HP to mash out a heal. 20 HP here, for example, can be very risky. A strong hit there could have potentially defeated Octo, but luckily we did not take a hard hit. Octo now out of healing, I believe. Now it's going to have to rely on mashing it out. But thankfully, Octo gets through. We'll get enough PP here to get 1 PSI life up on the next boss, Frankie Stein Mark II. Frankie Stein always wastes 1 turn and then attacks. You can do a strong or weak hit. The strong hit will do about 25 to 30-ish damage. 2 smashes will take it out. Already very lucky there. That was not a strong hit. Ori out of the Frank fight. I believe he still has a burger left on Frankie Stein. But while Frankenstein's typically much easier than Frank, or much less dangerous, I should say. Ness decides he wants to miss a lot, then there's not a whole lot you can do. Yep, 31 HP of damage, even through a guard. I wonder if that strong hit pierces through guard. I know some attacks do that. .34 damage, quite a bit. But we're out of the fights. Both our runners making it through the first difficult part of Onedge, but there's many more to come. Up next, we will be doing the slug grind. We need to get to level 8 so we get our PSI rocking ability. It will be a powerful AoE attack that hits all enemies on the field for somewhere around 40 to 120 damage, typically. And it's high variance. It can also miss, but it is the best option for taking on the boss, as it comes with backup flunkies who can heal him. And we don't want to mess around with that. I don't expect either runner to go burgerless. It is faster to skip healing, but also extremely dangerous on Titanic Hands itself. Even with a full inventory of burgers, you can still lose due to bad luck. For the slug grind, we will need to defeat 22 slugs. They come in packs of 4s at the bottom of Giant Step. At the top of Giant Step, you can find up to 6. So ideally, we'll get up to 16 on the 4 packs and then finish off with a 6 pack. Although it is a little dangerous to go up to the top of Giant Step, where there are black Antoids, which have the same overworld sprite as slugs, and are much more dangerous than slugs are. As these are both experienced runners, I am expecting them to finish off with the 6 pack of slugs. Octo luckily running into the first 4 pack here right at the entrance. Or I should say a 2 pack. 4 slugs divided into 2. Not quite ideal, as taking 2 fights is slower than 1, but what can you do? If Octo doesn't go back for those other 2, that'll mess up the slug count a little bit, but we'll see. If Octo doesn't go back for the 2, he can take on another 4 pack of slugs instead of going up for the 6 pack, but he does go back for the 2. On the bottom floor, we can also see mice. They're not particularly good for fighting. They only either do 1 damage or they smash you, but not particularly threatening either way. Here we'll want to get a mouse caught up on the wall. This will prevent additional mice from spawning in, so we get more slug spawns when the game decides to spawn enemies. So both our runners are now in position. That rock on the floor you may have seen earlier is a good indicator of where you need to walk back and forth to get enemies to spawn over on the left side. So sit tight, folks. We're in for a little bit of grinding. I think everybody's getting their slugs quick and easy here. The attack slugs themselves are not particularly threatening. If Ness misses a lot, they can regain their concentration and the use of their PSI abilities, which mostly just a hypnosis, and that's a big time waster. Octo not encountering anything on the middle floor here, but runs into what are likely black Antoids up there at the top. We want to fight those guys. Fortunately, it doesn't look like there's a 6-pack here, but Octo may be heading toward the door to do some door spawning of... Nope, is going to respawn enemies on the right side instead. You can also go in and out the door, but that's a little slow. Door transitions are even slower if the game has to change up the soundtrack, and going from inside the cave to outside will necessitate a change of music, so... While having great luck at the bottom with the 4-pack of slugs, Octo... Well, I just have to fade into existence. Octo finds the 6-pack and we'll finish grinding once this battle is over. Because of the high number of slugs, they will regain concentration, so they can still try and waste your time, but this is certainly faster than doing a whole other fight. Or he thankfully hits the slugs and not the mouse. Both our racers ending their slug fight with a smash. I think Ori's got enough to head up top if he so wishes. It's taking a mouse fight. The mice have a unique mechanic where they have very low offense but very high smash odds. They only really do damage when they smash, which is fairly frequently, but because of their low offense, it is not particularly dangerous. 13 HP of damage is about what an Antoid will do anyway, so... It's possible at this point to have enough offense to instant win against single Antoids. You need 24 offense. Though, unless you're counting your offense levels up, you may or may not know whether you have enough offense. So it's still faster to avoid fights where possible. Go with a nice 70-ish damage on the big ant himself. Titanic Ant has several attacks. You can do a weak hit, you can do a strong hit. You can drain your psychic points. You can throw up a physical shield, which will have the damage necessary to them. And you can also lower your defense. The big ant himself can also smash you, which, if you're not at full HP, will likely be a KO. And here we have, after getting a bit of a heal loop here, but just needed one more hit to finish it off, right when Ori gets into the fights. While uncommon, you can miss those black Antoids in the back there, so just be aware of that. Titanic Ants draining all the PP from Ori as Ness continues missing. Hate to see it, folks. Yep, ideally what you get is you're able to get off 2 Ruckins and a heal before you get any PP stolen from you. But sometimes the ant knows your game plan and will mess it up as best he can. Thankfully, PSI Magnet is just a wasted turn at this point. Just need to finish it off with a nice 23. Or he's through the ant fight. No problems here from either of our runners. We'll see if they want to top up on burgers before the Cop Gauntlet. They both used a good amount of burgers, but there's a potential for time save if you don't go refill on burgers. It is fairly risky, especially if you're low on healing. The cops, there's 4 of them, and they always attack. They do not have any time-wasting abilities. You're always taking damage, so the more heals you have, the safer you are. Octo skipping the burger top off, or you grabbing the burger present on the way down. Always hate to see these large packs of enemies as you're moving down giant step. One of the difficulties of giant step is having a large amount of enemies off screen, lagging the game, making your stutter steps less effective. Octo through the first cop fight. 3 more and a boss to go. Octo skipping burgers, I imagine Ori may also opt to skip burgers so as not to lose additional time. It's not about getting a good time here, it's about winning. So, dying in Onet is particularly troublesome, aside from, of course, the time loss that comes with just a death in general. If you don't save anywhere, you will restart up at Ness's house. When you revive, you don't have any PP, so you will need to rest up somehow, either with Ness's mom. You can also go down to Frank, or who will continue to heal you. Or you can spend some money at the hotel. I don't think anybody would ever do that in a speed context, but another thing to keep in mind is leaving Ness's house. Oh, that's mortal damage, but he had a heal queued up. So, as I was mentioning before, as you leave Ness's house, there is a photo trigger right in the front lawn, which will waste additional time. As well as Ness's house being fairly far away from Onet proper. Okay, getting some bad luck here on the final cop. 46 HP going into Captain Strong is a little shaky. Don't really want to see that. Ideally, you'd have 60 plus. Or at least mid-50s are better. Or you're running low on burgers. Two rockets is usually enough to take out Strong. That 52, however, not particularly good. Another weak rocket hit will keep him alive. Yep, another 52. Just missed. Captain Strong wasting time. Octo finishes off with a smash. Exiting and finishing up the Onet circuit at 27 minutes. An excellent time, folks. Ori's still not far behind. I don't know where his burger count is, but his psychic points are still pretty high. Has plenty of time, has plenty of resources for healing. It's level 10, gets some additional stats, but is on this Captain Strong fight. Shall see how things go. Always hate to see a rock and miss on Captain Strong. But it happened before. Alright, Captain Strong being nice for Ori here. 66 is not ideal. But perhaps we'll get a slightly better hit. And that'll be enough. Ori's out. 28 on the dot. Not far behind Octo. It's still anyone's game. Here in Tucson, we'll save at either the department store or the bus station, depending on the death warp route we want to do. Octo opting to take the more common death warp route, I believe. Well, he did not save, so perhaps he was going for a different method. Nope, he takes a save. So with the death warp, we have two options. First, if you save here, you're likely not planning on getting the couple life noodles in PRV. Instead, you'll head up to the hotel to revive Paula, as you need a live Paula to talk with her dad to initiate various flags. Oh, we got an enemy on Octo's side. Gonna have to take a longer way around. Or you're trying to get the butterfly there. You're low on PP after Strong, so you want to grab a butterfly for safety. But, that mushroom was blocking him. The second death warp method is we save at the bus station. We use a couple life noodles to revive Paul. It is faster, technically, as you are closer to the bottom of Tucson, which is much closer to the Polestar preschool than the hospital is. But you still have to pick up the life noodles. It is in a fairly dangerous place in PRV, which is full of nasty spawns. It is difficult to grab it without getting into a fight. Oop, we got a cop here. We do not want to fight the cop. I don't believe we can run from them. So we're going to have to take a longer route around to Apple Kid. But thankfully, no fight. Octo heading through the cave to PRV. We need to go peek a nice, lovely pencil statue here in the valley. Probably give that UFO a wide enough berth to get past it, and Octo does. In the beginning, you don't actually have to see the pencil, you just have to have it loaded in RAM. So you can do what Octo did and get it just off screen, and it'll still count. Though if you're unfamiliar, already getting harassed by dogs here in Tucson. It's always a good idea to give these trees a wide berth. Enemies can be hiding in the foliage where you can't see them. Octo getting a butterfly here. There's a fairly high butterfly rate at that particular spot. Sometimes there will be enemies in the way, but sometimes you'll just have a free butterfly. Octo now going to grab their pencil eraser and head back to PRV. Also, right here, we're going to grab some skip sandwiches. Skip sandwiches increase our overworld movement, as I mentioned earlier. Very helpful for escaping enemies, getting around otherwise difficult enemy positions. PRV is a very narrow area with plenty of spawns you can find yourself pincered in. The skip sandwich is a very good way to break through. Or are you going to get their pencil? Racer Octo heading back to PRV. Giving each other the high five yet again. We'll see how PRV goes for Octo. This is casually one of the tougher areas in Earthbound. There are plenty of enemies that can gang up on you. And a solo nest, unless you decide to take the slingshot, which has a poor accuracy rate, you're still stuck with all the equipment. You still have an O-net while the enemies have scaled up a bit. As we see from the UFO, they also have a swooping pattern like the crow. But they're much... It seems to me it's much easier for them to slip through narrow areas than the crow. They also don't really get... It seems to me that even if they get hung up on terrain, they can kind of swoop around it sometimes. Octo having a pretty good... Oh, we got a tree. Tree is still there, but trees are pretty slow. We can outmaneuver them, especially if we catch them in a good walk cycle. Here we have a very good use of the skip sandwich. We need to get past here. Oh no! But the UFO catches up. Oh, this is bad, folks. The UFO is the one enemy we don't want to fight, as it is the fastest here in PRV. Makes it difficult to run away. Ness is a very slow character. His one weakness. Octo is going to try... Every turn we get another 10% chance to escape battle. So one thing you can do is try and wait it out until you have a good chance, but your runaway rate can start negative. Since the little UFO is so fast, it is very easy to miss, and with either physical attacks or with rocking. Also, having the RoboCast shield on the UFO is really annoying. Ori taking a fight with a Robo. Single Robo really isn't too bad. It'll annoy you with the sinuses, but it doesn't do that much damage. And more importantly, it's not that evasive. It's not that fast. You have a decent chance to run away. Or even to take it out, as Ori seems to be doing. It certainly wastes a lot of time, though. And thankfully we know Healing Alpha by this point, which allows us to cure our sneezing problem. Yeah, UFO is still there. As we've seen here, there's very easy to get pincered in. Or electing to take the skip sandwich here. Trying to get up and around. Unfortunately, enemies were in such a way it was not realistic to get through there without taking some amount of fighting. Mobile Sprouts continuing to annoy by draining PP. Unfortunately, with that UFO in battle, our runaway rates are pretty low. Octo making it through PRV. Ori, unfortunately, unlikely to make it through this fight, and we'll have to try again from Tucson. Alas, poor Ori. Fortunately, with that KO, Octo is firmly in the lead, but plenty of RNG awaits, folks. This is still not decided. In particular, there are enemies called the Insane Cultists. Not only can you not run from them if you happen to run into them on the world map, but they can call for help and they're fairly tanky. They have 90-ish HP. If you get a high roll rock and you can take them out instantly, but you can easily find yourself in situations where they continue to call for help, and then if they keep calling for help, you'll run out of resources far more quickly than they will. In particular, the shack fight here has two of them, and there's a mandatory cultist in the cult HQ that we have to fight. The strategy for the shack fight here is to throw out rockets, hope you delete the cultists first thing so they can't call for help. We'll see how things go down. The crow's here to be annoying and maybe steal your food. Oh, you already got C. The crow's taken out, but we got low rolls on all the cultists. Even low rolling again will likely take them all out, as long as we hit. 92, 84, 95. If only we got that first thing, that would have taken out two of them. The only unfortunate thing about having to use our two rockets here is we're fairly low on PP for the rest of the Carpainter Happy Village fights. If the cultist in the HQ calls for help a lot, then we can still end up in a difficult position. We also ideally would like to have a lot of PP just to throw out rockets on Carpainter to help take him down quickly. Excuse me. In the Cult HQ itself, you can pick up a croissant if you need some more food, but you can get free food from the self-help stand, so It's somewhat a limited use, but there is a free skip sandwich here. Or he's doing his best to escape the snake, but the snake gets the jump on him. Well, not ideal to try and run from the snake. You can bash it out in a single hit. We won't want to step on snake. Octo through the mandatory cultist fight. Now on to Painter himself. Ideally, you want to end this fight at low HP to facilitate the death warp. Let's see what happens. Painter has a fairly... Oh, that 168 is really good. The Painter basically has a 3-turn loop. The first turn he will always do Thunder. Slowly Thunder Beta. It's actually the best damage to use against them since it'll always be reflected back. On the second turn, you'll use PSI Life Up or PSI Shield. First Life Up, then Shield, and then on the third turn, you'll always attack. Painter can't smash, so the damage he does is consistent within, regular damage variance. Luckily, Octo gets through the fight no problem. If Thunder keeps missing us, he can end up in a bad position as he continues to life up himself, and your bashes are fairly low damage compared to the amount of HP that he has. Ori in the shack fights. The 101 will take out a cultist. Does not work on the Crow. Again, Crow's high speed makes Rockin' miss a decent amount of time. Nope. But Ori through the shack fight, no problem. 20 to 21 PP is very good. To facilitate the Death Warp, we will get rid of our defensive items on Ness. We'll also throw away that teddy bear that Paula has as well, as it can redirect damage at a 50% rate. We need no redirection here. Ori having just enough time to get around this cultist. He's going to pick up the croissant here in the HQ, opting to not take any of the food items from the stall. The croissant is a fairly big heal. So it's not the ideal food to use, but you take what you get. If you're really trying to low roll your HP, you can use something like a cookie or even a skip sandwich to only heal 6 HP on a mortal damage hit. But they can still leave you in a difficult position if Painter doesn't play along. And here we have the mole. The mole is pretty consistent. We're already on turn 3, having dealt no damage to either of our kids. Ori, unfortunately, taking another KO. We'll have to walk back through PRV back to Happy Village. Alright, the mole finally took out Paula. So unfortunately for bashes, there is a 1 in 16 chance to just flat out miss. It's very much not ideal. But Octo, realizing they did not have enough money to revive Paula, you need $100 to get Paula out of the hospital. Any kid, really, but being $1 off is unfortunate. Yeah, it took over 5 turns, Aerophone. For Octo, there's a couple of various flags you need to set before you can get out. So we need to pick up this backstage pass. We need to talk to Paula's dad, which requires Paula being alive. Then we need to go see Everdread, get our $10,000. Then we need to go to the theater and see the Runaway 5 show, and then give the $10,000 to the theater manager, and then we can finally get on the bus to Threed. Or using the skip sandwich to evade a bunch of enemies here works out very well for him. Not too many more encounters here just yet. Fortunately, this horseshoe section up here, it can be a little dangerous. It can be very easy to get pincered. There's a photo trigger in front of the theater there. You need to really hug the wall to evade it. Alright, Ori going up against the cultist for round 2. Unfortunately, you do have to talk to everyone, get them out of the way again. And here we have the Runaway 5 show on Octo's side. Oh, Ness, don't miss, please. One cultist down, but we need to heal. And cultists are down. Ori is on to Carpenter. We get a good amount of HP. We don't need to heal up for the first Carpenter hit. After his hit, we should be fairly low on HP, so we just have to hope for good luck. I'm taking the Carpenter down. We get one Lightning Reflect, 145. We get Rockin', 108. He's actually pretty close to being down, but the life up will heal up most of the Rockin'. 57, not ideal, but we do take a hit. We should hopefully be able to bash it out before the next hit. That Lightning will do it, folks. Carpenter's down, Ori has 28 HP. A little bit more after this level up, but still within range for an OKO from the mole. Hopefully Ori will have better luck on the Death Warp than Octo. Octo on his way to Threed. Once we get to Threed, we'll need to go through a graveyard, check out some zombies, and then head to a hotel for a nice conversation with a mysterious lady. Ori getting rid of his bat as well. This is one thing you can do, because the mole can confuse itself. Bashes, as long as they aren't smashes, can knock the mole out of confusion. Nest with the bat will do considerably more damage than an unarmed nest. However, if you find yourself in a fight in, say, the graveyard or otherwise, nests dealing less damage may be a little tricky, especially if you don't have any PP, because you won't have any after the death warp. Or initiating his death warp. Octo heading through graveyard. No spawns yet. So you do go right far enough that things can spawn on your left side as you try and exit. Yep. Lots of flies, a trash can. But thankfully, gets through that issue. The mole is unfortunately playing nice, but takes out Ness. Not too bad of a death warp. Octo now on his way to the Jeff segment of the run. When the Jeff segment starts, there's a couple errands we need to run within the boarding school. We'll need to grab a bad key and complain about it, and then we'll get the bad key machine. We'll get our weapon, we'll get a nice hat, and then we'll be on our way. Ori now doing their Tucson chores. Not much to say at the moment, so if you need to refill your water or refill your snacks, now is a good time to do so before the action starts up again. Nope, we got a hippie setting. Thankfully, we can just go around them. Paula being at level 1 is very vulnerable to be taken out instantly by any enemy, even those in Tucson. So be extra vigilant as you walk from the hospital to the preschool. We said both our runners do a different technique to get into the theater. The right side theater, you can just walk off the slanted side of the theater, and you'll avoid the photo trigger. The other way is to, on the left side, press yourself up against the wall and head over on the right on it. Octo now heading out of the boarding school. We'll stop by the drugstore, pick up Bubble Monkey, who's never betrayed anyone in his life. Will help us across Lake Tessie in the near future. Now heading south through Winters, we have the typical dogs and crows, but there's also goats. Goats being particularly strong, we don't want to fight them. If anything, if we run into a dog, we may take a fight with it. It'll get us to level 2, which is very nice. Unfortunately, did not get the green dog. There's also a 50-50 chance for this dog to drop a bread roll. For whatever reason, Ness has much lower odds to get bread rolls from these dogs. No bread roll here, but even 1 HP is very good. They're the strongest enemy in the game, the worthless protoplasm, will typically do 10 damage to Jeff, so having that even that 1 extra point of HP is a nice buffer against getting KO'd. If the worthless protoplasm feels like violence. Or he soon will be on his way to Threed. There's another photo trigger right in front of this tent. You can slide off that peg on the left side and it'll be... You can scoot right on past it. That NPC can get in your way. I've seen it happen a couple times. Either just have to wait for him to move or go up and around the tent. But today we have Tessie. We are pretty fantastic for taking the time to talk with animals, so... Tessie's out in chat. Both on some cutscenes here. Excellent time to get up and stretch, get some water, or some snacks. We'll be back to your regular Earthbound gameplay in just a moment, folks. Actually, these cutscenes might end around the same time. Or he's probably going to take a little longer, but... So there is a goat that spawns at 100% rate just below us, but these spawn triggers aren't very tight. You can get around them with a quick down left from Jeff's position here. Easiest spawn skip in the book. Hold down left, go to that cliff, and you're good to go. Easy goat skip. Here we have 3 enemies. We can technically dodge encounters against all 3. The first one is the hardest one to skip. Octo does not quite get it. Oh, but he's going to draw him up and do... Oh, yeah, unfortunately that was a little weird. But, there is a way to get around it. I do not know the details myself, but... Easy fight, folks. Levels will help against any other enemies that we end up fighting in here. The second one, the duck skip, is a little more finicky, but a little easier. Unfortunately, the duck is kind of really far out of the way, so not really ideal to skip. Or he gets in a fight with some flies. 2 freezes will end it. Unfortunately, because Ness bashed, took too long for Polly to get her freeze out. Gonna try and run away, but I think these flies are fairly fast. Thankfully, even if we get KO'd here, we start where the bus dropped us off, and we should still be able to get into the hotel and continue the story. We saw there the second proto-skip, but Bubble Monkey betrayed us. As he was wont to do. We were unable to skip, but Jeff is pretty strong at this point. There's no problems here, folks. Next up is Pawn Cave. We have mice and slugs as we've seen before, and there's also some, I believe they're Strutton mushrooms? While we can stutter step the mice and the slugs, we can the shroom has the same movement pattern as other shrooms. If you get close enough to them, they will dash after you. As we see from Octo here, good stuttering ability means we just do not need to take fights. This middle section here can be a little risky for stuttering, as enemies can show up on the far left side, as we see there. Mushroom right in the way. They're by far the strongest enemies in the cave. Definitely do not want to fight them if you can help it. But second time around, no enemies, so we can pass right on through. Hitting the hour mark now, folks. Not much time left. Ori is starting their Jeff journey. Octo will be finishing up their Jeff portion here shortly. Want to wait for Bubble Monkey here, as we need him to blow a bubble and float on up to this middle section here, drop the rope for us. If Bubble Monkey is stuck further back, he'll slowly float over to the platform, climb on down, and then go back to where he used to be, which is a little silly, but it's also slow. Thankfully, that mushroom was in a position where it could not run after Jeff. Ori now doing their boarding school chores before leaving. Octo just has to get through Stonehenge here. There are some cave boys. They're fairly slow. You can outrun them, so long as you can get a head start on them like that. Be heading to Threed shortly, and then all we have left is Boogey Tent himself. We'll have another cutscene here on Octo's side. A little over 2 minutes. Earthbound, at least, is nice enough to give runners several breaks throughout the game, including a forced 3-minute break. Octo here on pace for a very excellent run tonight. Ori has not thrown out the spray can, maybe deciding to hold on to it. Well, no, got rid of it just then. Almost as if he were listening to me. But you can optionally keep the spray can. Jeff will fix it into the defense spray, and you can opt to sell it for additional cash to buy more stuff. Typically, bottle rockets against Boogey 10 if Boogey 10 is uncooperative and you take a KO on him. I'm sorry, if you get KO'd by him, not take a KO. We'll see how Ori's Winter's Walk goes. Hopefully, we'll be able to get the green dog, should a dog appear. Fortunately, the crow is a little uncooperative, deciding to fly to the left and get in our way. No dogs for Ori, but that's fine. You can still defeat the strongest enemy in the game, even at level 1, although, as it typically does 10 damage, it'll be a little spicier if the protoplasm chooses violence. It has plenty of things that it can do that aren't violence, including calling more of itself, which is always something you don't want to see. You can actually run from those encounters in the Dungeon Man dungeon. So if you wait enough turns, you'll be able to escape. Waiting for Bubble Monkey here again. It's much slower for him to blow the bubble and float on over than it is for him to run up to catch up to you. And once again, Tessie's in chat for our magnificent MS Paint Beast. Octo crash landing into Threed. May or may not decide to pick up a safety teddy bear. May or may not decide to save, too. We are hoping that Jeff's big bottle rocket will instantly defeat Boogey Tent, but it can If it decides to low roll, then you can be in a disadvantaged position. It has about 590 HP. It's very difficult to make up the gap if the big bottle rocket is uncooperative. I see Octo take up the safety bear. As mentioned before, teddy bears have a 50% chance to redirect any physical attack. Well, not physical attack, but basically any attack onto it, as long as it's not AoE. Octo will, in fact, be taking the safety save here, in case things go awry. Again, it's a... but you do need $1. Octo did exact change the hospital. In the bracket stages, all that matters is winning. It does not matter whether you get a good time or not. We'll be heading south here to the tent. There are some dangerous enemies here, like that zombie dog. But we have our nice friendly dog blocking for us. Let's see how the big bottle rocket goes. This could be it, folks. 602, that's enough. Boogey 10 is defeated. GG's to Octo. After a lengthy level up sequence. Also, good job, Ori, defeating the strongest enemy in the game. Nary a scratch. So once the level up text is done, Octo will need to pick up the jar of fly honey before time can be called. Which will be shortly, but we do have a lot of level ups for kids who are very low level. Octo getting us what I assume will be a sub 107, which is extremely good. Particularly with taking time off to save and grab the teddy bear. Ori almost getting the proto skip right when Octo finishes. We have a race.gg time of 106.40. Ori has decided to forfeit from the race. But I'm I don't know if Ori plans on finishing out even after forfeiting, but we'll stick with it if Ori decides to close out the Boogey percent. No, I'm good, so looks like things will end here. So thank you everyone for joining me this morning for some Earthbound action. Later tonight, 10:30 Eastern, we'll have yet another race. So hope to see you then, everyone. Have a good day.